it again?
Yeah.
Yep. Live.
Live, okay.
Hi, how are you? I'll leave that up there. So we're going to start over just a bit because we had a little issue with the internet, but no problem, we're back. Thanks so much for tuning in. Again, this is English for All, a free English lesson from the United States Embassy, and we're very happy to have you participating today. My name is Roger.
And I'm Salwa.
And so we are from the Regional English Language Office in the U.S. Embassy, and we're here today to do a free English lesson. We're going to do some vocabulary, some expressions, and a few sentence patterns to help you talk about something, which we'll get to in just a minute. Because this is going to be kind of an interactive class, we're going to ask you questions. We want you to ask us questions. So please feel free to ask whatever you like. And I just mentioned we're from the Regional English Language Office. So actually my first question is for this very nice person sitting next to me. Salwa, could you tell the folks out there, what do you do for a living?
Hi, I'm Salwa. I'm the assistant to the Regional English Language Officer, and it happens to be Roger. I've been in the office for 18 years working on promoting English teaching programs for English teachers and students, coordinating and doing all the logistical work that requires to make the program a success.
Thank you, Salwa.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd be lost without this woman. So again, if you have any questions while we're doing our lesson, please feel free to write. At this moment, anyone who is out there, please say hello. We love to chat with you. And so my first question, and I have it on the board already, it's a really good expression that I actually just thought of right before this class. When people learn English, and they want to know what people's job is, usually they say, "What is your job?" Which is great. However, in American English, we sometimes don't say that. We use a different expression that is very, very useful, and it's right here. So we say, "What do you do for a living?" Or very quickly, we say, "What do you do for a living?" So maybe let's ask the folks out there, what do you do for a living? We'd love to hear if you're a student or a teacher or where you work or anything about yourself. That would be great. And maybe while you all are writing in, I'd like to actually ask another question. If you recognize Salwa, does anyone out there recognize Salwa? So actually, Salwa was just in a video that we did for English language learning, and I'm wondering if Salwa, could you tell them really quickly what our really cool video was about?
Sure, مرحبا. عملنا فيديو قصير تعلمنا فيه مصطلح هذا اللي اجاك، او بالانجليزي it is what it is. هذا المصطلح بنستخدمه في حالات مواقف ما بتقدر تغير فيها اي اشي وبدك تطول بالك بالموقف اللي انت موجود فيه. فكان الموقف انه في راكبه اللي هي انا ركبت بتاكسي، وكان لي حديث مع السايق انه كيف علقانين بعجقه السير، من وين السيارات هاي جاي، وانه نحن بنقضي وقتنا علقانين اغلب نهاراتنا بعمان خصوصا بعجقه السير، وما بنقدر نوصل للمحل اللي بدنا نوصله بسرعه. فالشوفير كان لطيف وبقول لي باخر اشي هذا اللي اجاكي بدك تتحملي. شكرا.
Thank you, Salwa. That sounded great. And hey to Majid. Majid said he's a student. And also Mosab is an architecture student. Fantastic. And thank you for tuning in. So maybe let's start our lesson. So actually first, a little bit about myself. So I came to Jordan only about 2 months ago. And since I've been here, I have to admit, Salwa, I love Jordanian food.
Good.
And my wife has noticed that I've gained a few pounds.
Oops.
Maybe even a few kilos.
Oops.
So one thing that I've been curious about is, basically any foreigner who comes to Jordan loves Jordanian food. And I'm kind of curious why that is. What do you think is maybe special about Jordanian food that make people love it so much? So I'd like to ask the audience, why is Jordanian food so great? Hey, Abdallah, thanks for being a pilot. Maybe I'll fly with you when I head to Aqaba.
Okay, not bad.
So Salwa, while the audience is replying to us, why is Jordanian food so special? Why do you think every foreigner seems to love it so much?
It is simply incredibly diverse. We have different kinds of food. We have traditional foods, foods that are easy to be prepared, foods that use lots of spices in it, that gives it a very, very amazingly delicious taste.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. So far, I've tried a lot of different foods. So actually, another question I'd like to ask Salwa right now. Now, in English, I'm glad your mom cooks you Jordanian food, Omar. That sounds good. Thanks for tuning in.
Oh,
And
Maha, she loves mansaf. Good for you, Maha.
Everybody seems to love mansaf. I've only tried it once. It was pretty good. So one question I'd like to ask Salwa, and actually usually an easy way to ask this question is you could say, what's your favorite food? And that's perfect. That's great. Just like that. But kind of a more interesting way to ask something, or a different word we can use, is the word crave. So for example, I could ask Salwa, Salwa goes on a lot of trips.
Okay.
So, Salwa, imagine if you were on a trip and you were away from Jordan for a really long time, and you could not get any Jordanian food at all. So then I could ask Salwa, maybe, what food do you think you would crave the most?
That's an interesting question to ask. Maybe several of them, but what comes to mind, I would say a good shawarma sandwich, then a good plate of hummus, and fool and falafel. I mean, nicely prepared, using the right amount of spices. I would crave that food.
Great. So crave means if you can't get something or you haven't had something for a really long time, and we usually use it in connection with food, you really, really want it after a while. So I'd like to ask the audience, say imagine if you were away from Jordan for a long time, what food do you think you would crave the most? Someone craves grape leaves.
Oh man, this is
awesome.
This is a
Those are
very
awesome.
tasty plate. صينية بطاطا, Muhammad. Wow, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, great. Keep those responses coming in. So what we're going to talk about today is how to really express or describe Jordanian food in English. And someone, Wafa, says she craves, or she would crave maglube. That's a great dish. That's something else that
I know, and I love it as well.
Fantastic. So we're going to do a quick lesson about how you would talk about Jordanian food in English. So maybe the first thing to talk about is maybe a different word we could throw in. So when we talk about food in general or a country's food, we can say Jordanian food. That's great, like Japanese food. There's another great word that is very common, which is the word cuisine. And cuisine usually is referred to the cooking of a specific country or of a specific region. For example, you know, you could say Jordanian cuisine, Japanese cuisine. There's all different types of cuisines in the world. We have another person, Haitham, who says he loves mansaf, and that is the best cuisine, and that's great. So again, for cuisine, it's usually used for a general reference to food. Like, for example, we'd say, and we pronounce it like this. So we'd say like Jordanian cuisine, or even American cuisine. Do you like American food, by the way, Salwa?
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
I like the steaks if it's done and juicy and tasty.
Yes.
I like the mashed potato
I love it.
and the grilled veggies.
That is fantastic. Yeah.
Hamburgers and hot dogs, I have to think about it.
So you're not a big fan of McDonald's?
No, no. McDonald's, no.
Yeah, neither am I. So, and actually, someone out there named Lama mentioned that cuisine is actually a French word.
Which is true.
Yes.
Yes, it is true. It's a French word, and it's used as an indication to the good cooking of a certain food.
So, for example, when someone asks you what Jordanian cuisine or what Jordanian food or what Jordanian cooking is like, the first response is maybe to say something in general. So you could say something like Jordanian cuisine is. So we'd like to ask the audience out there, how would you complete this sentence if you said Jordanian cuisine is? Please write us and tell us how you would complete that sentence. So I'd like to ask Salwa, the star of the video It Is What It Is. Before we do that, I'd like to just respond to Ghassan and or to Omar. And he says, and I'm going to read it because this is such a great response. And actually, could you read that, Salwa? It's awesome.
Omar says there is no specific word describes the awesomeness of Jordanian food, which is true.
That is true. That is true.
And Ghassan says, I crave a proper shawarma. Oh man, you made me think of the shawarma now.
So, actually, maybe Salwa, how would you complete that? Jordanian cuisine is?
Incredibly diverse.
That's good. Where's the eraser? Here we go. It's a good adverb there. Incredibly diverse. And by diverse, we mean there's a lot of different types of food.
Foods in it.
Yeah.
And it's heavy on rice, meat. And the most popular dish you know by now is mansaf.
Mansaf, yeah, someone else wrote us about mansaf again. That seems to be very popular.
And then ma'lube.
That's
and we have stuffed grapes leaves.
Yes,
which
someone
is
wrote
good.
us about
And
that.
stuffed zucchinis.
I love it.
Eggplant
I love it.
and squash. We have a variety of foods that are easy to prepare and very healthy.
Do you cook very much, Salwa?
I do.
Okay. Are there any cooks in the audience? And I say that because I love to cook myself. I don't know how to cook Jordanian food. I'd like to know who out there likes to cook, and especially do you like to cook Jordanian food? Please write us. So I'd like to continue. So maybe we could say Jordanian cuisine is incredibly diverse, or you could say Jordanian cooking is delicious, or something like that. After that, what people are maybe interested in, if you're speaking English to someone and they want to know more about Jordanian cuisine, or any food in general, something good to mention, a word I thought of earlier, is they might be interested in finding out what the staple of the cuisine is, or the staple of the country. So when we say the staple of a cuisine, I'm curious if anyone out there is familiar with that word. What does the word staple mean when we say, like, the staple of Jordanian cuisine is?
Can I answer?
You are so eager. She's a great student, really. So yeah, please go ahead.
Well, we have rice, bread, chickpeas.
So I'd write or I'd say the staples.
Bread, rice.
What else? So rice, bread.
Chickpeas.
Anything else? Anything else out there? So when we say staple, what do we mean by staple?
It's the main ingredients of a certain food that sort of the items we use in preparing any dish.
Right, like, and it could also mean, like the main dish that people eat every day.
Exactly.
So like, when we think of Japanese cuisine or Japanese cooking, really the staple of Japanese cooking we could say is rice. Another one, yeah, that's great.
It's olive oil.
Yeah,
Yes.
beautiful, beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you. Olive oil. Perfect.
And actually another staple in the Jordanian cuisine is za'atar.
Za'atar.
Thyme.
What is that?
It's a herb, and the way we prepare it is we wait until it's dry. We mill it in a grinder, and we add jamid. Man, good.
People out there love mansaf. I think that's an ingredient in mansaf. Is that right?
Yes, it's a main ingredient in
Thanks,
it.
Danya.
So za'atar, it's the thyme, and we add to it sumac. We add to it salt, and we add to it some dried chickpeas to give it a flavor to listen the strength of the thyme. The main thing we like to do it is manakish.
I love that stuff. Thank you, Salwa.
You're welcome.
And actually, that makes me think of a question before we get on to the next vocabulary and sentence pattern. So I'm kind of curious what you think, because you're Jordanian and I am American. What do you think the staple of American cuisine is? What's your thought on that, Salwa?
I would say the first thing is, since it is a mixed cuisine, I would think pasta, I would think of beef meat, I would think of hamburgers, hot dogs, bread. What else comes to mind?
That's a good question, and I was actually thinking of this earlier. Even though I am American, American cuisine is incredibly diverse, like Jordanian food, and we have so many different cultures in the United States. I'm not even really sure anymore what the staple of American cuisine would be. I guess it depends on what family you visit. So anyway, peanut butter, Samir! Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's
peanut butter and jelly.
Peanut butter and jelly. That was my favorite sandwich when I was a little kid. Yeah, peanut butter and jelly. Thank you, Samir. That's great stuff. So I would like to move on. So we have maybe a couple of quick ways to introduce Jordanian cuisine in English. I'd like to put up a sentence pattern that will help you maybe communicate a little bit more. So we could say this. So the next thing you might want to talk about is, the main ingredients in Jordanian food. And there's a couple ways to do that. Now, again, easily you could say the main ingredients in Jordanian food are, and that's excellent English right there.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to do some, expressions that are pretty common in American English. So one thing you could say is this. You could say it's heavy on meat, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what heavy means, but here it's kind of an expression. It means, popular, or there's a lot of something.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the same thing here. So for example, we could say, Salwa talked about the staple before. You could say like, bread, just as an example, or meat again,
Mm-hmm.
is really big in Jordanian food. Now here, we know the word big, of course, but here big might mean popular, or there's a lot of something.
Or heavily consumed.
Exactly, thank you. And you could follow it up with this. So you could say, meat, just as an example, is really big in Jordanian food. And so you could also say, and uses a great deal of. In American English, we use that phrase quite a lot. And someone mentioned in the U.S. Apple pie. Yeah, there's another expression we say, as American as apple pie. I could go for some of that right now myself.
Uh-oh.
Here, I'll put this here. So we could also say uses a great deal of. A great deal of means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So to put it all together, and then I'll ask Salwa and you all for a quick example. So we could say it's heavy on meat, or we could say meat is really big in Jordanian food, or Jordanian cooking, or Jordanian cuisine, and uses a great deal of rice. And uses a great deal of spices, or
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Exactly.
Like as a quick example, I could say something like, so first I'm going to say what Omar mentioned here. Someone's saying, he mentions if we're stealing Jordanian recipes, I wish. Maybe at the end we could ask people for their favorite recipes, because
Of
I
course.
love to learn.
Exactly.
I love to learn.
Yeah, for sure.
Like as just a very fast example, like I love Korean food
Mm-hmm.
myself. So I could say something like, I love Korean food. I could say like beef is really big in Korean food and uses a great deal of pickled veggies. Something
Okay.
like that.
Good.
Something like that. Okay, so maybe let's move on.
Let's move on.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so to the next item. The next thing we'd like to talk about is something that has come about pretty recently, because in our fast-paced modern life, we don't have a lot of time for eating. A lot of people talk about and eat fast food. Yes, do you have something?
Yeah,
Salwa?
Maya says I have lots of good recipes and I can do good food and I can do you stuffed lamb and grape leaves and zucchini.
Wow.
Maya, thank you very much.
That sounds like an invitation.
Yes, it
And
is.
hi Rashid, how are you? Thanks for joining us today. So one thing I would like to talk about, and you can use this when you're describing Jordanian food, is this word.
Comfort food.
Yeah, what is comfort food, Salwa?
It's a food that people love to prepare because it reminds them of a memory or a gathering or something that makes them feel comfortable. It's heavy on carbohydrates.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
And people actually go to it in time of like feeling down or happy. It resembles something of a memory to them.
Right, it's like maybe a traditional food.
A traditional food, something they used to do together. I mean, like gathering in the kitchen, preparing it, family memories, friends memories.
Right, you might eat it on Friday
Exactly,
or
something traditional for the house because it's a Friday and it's the weekend in Jordan. And everyone is gathered at home. They would prepare something that's they can call it's our comfort food for
Right.
the day.
So earlier I asked Salwa if she was away from Jordan. Someone said Nutella. Yeah, that's an interesting comfort food.
Yes,
that's
it is.
That's a comfort food for my
It's
3.
high.
Yeah.
It's high on carbohydrates and
Yes,
sugars.
that's a comfort food for my 3-year-old daughter as well. So earlier I asked Salwa if she was away from Jordan. Someone else says lentil soup.
Yes,
oh,
for sure.
That's a perfect example.
Yes.
I asked Salwa earlier what she would crave if she were away from Jordan, and she mentioned shawarma. For some people that might be a comfort food, but comfort food might be something a little bit different, or a food that takes longer to prepare. So I'd like to first ask Salwa, and then I'd like to ask you all. Some people are responding already. Salwa, what is your favorite comfort food?
That's a good one. Probably I would say stuffed grape leaves and zucchini and a maqlube. That would be something to do for a comfort food.
Okay, great. And I think Omar out there gave us a good definition of comfort food.
And that is?
So maybe we'll see what that is in just a minute. But it's really something that makes you feel comfortable. So if anyone out there has any more responses about what their favorite comfort food is, we'd love to hear them.
مجدرة. That's a very.
What is that? What is that?
It's done in both in 2 ways. It's lentils, either with rice or burghul, crushed burghul.
Okay.
And it's easily prepared. It's tasty. Some people would eat it with salad. Some people eat it with yogurt.
Okay.
And then kabsa, it's another plate that's very popular here in Jordan. Either you eat it, and Wafa says it's a kabsa, and it's a good one. Now, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yes.
What's your comfort food?
That is
What's your favorite?
That is a great question, and I might mention that later at the end. But actually, my wife, who maybe is watching right now, hi honey, is Mongolian. And someone says Mulukhia.
Oh
That's
my
great.
God.
So my comfort food.
Majd is saying Mulukhia. Good. My
Hi,
favorite.
Majd. My comfort food is a Mongolian food.
Oh, okay.
It's called bots. It's kind of like a small dumpling made of meat, and my wife is the best cook of bots in the universe.
Okay, we'll hold you to that.
So before we wrap things up and do one last maybe expression, and then we're going to put all of this together to give you a better picture of how you can use this in, say, a paragraph. Hey, Omar, he likes shish barak. That's
Man, this is a very tasty dish, and it takes.
They're all tasty.
It is tasty, and it takes a while to prepare it, and it's like one of those family things that you gather in the kitchen and start preparing it because it takes a while to get ready.
So, very quickly, what I like to do is maybe just go over a couple of ingredients that people might not know how to say in English. So I'd like to go over these just very quickly and some ways of preparing food, just so maybe you can potentially use them in your conversation. So I'd like to write a few here. So I think we know that one. And then we'll stop here. So I'm curious if, looking at these, if anyone knows what they are in Arabic, maybe write in what these are in Arabic. Salwa, yeah, Salwa does love everything, yes, yes.
Yeah, the good appetite.
So do I, so do I. So, you know, people out there who know English already, they already know how to say a lot of things. So I just want to see if you know these words right here that are pretty common ingredients in Jordanian food. If you know any of them, please write in what they are in Arabic. And maybe we can ask Salwa just very quickly to say what these are. So for example, let's start with spice mixture. What would that be?
In Arabic, it's بهارات مشكلة.
And this one, roasted wheat.
Roasted wheat is, if I translate it literally, it's gonna be قمح محمص, but the word for it in Arabic is friken.
Yes, I'm familiar with that one. And so minced meat, or we might say ground beef. What is that?
لحم مفروم.
And this one?
حمص.
Okay, I love that stuff.
Sesame paste is طحينة.
Beautiful, beautiful. So maybe let's continue quickly. And I want to put up just a few methods of preparation to go over, and then maybe we can create some sentences. So those were ingredients. So there are different ways of preparing food in Jordanian cuisine. Now we probably know words like boil or boiled or fried, right? Most people know those already. So the word stuffed, I'm thinking of a vegetable right here, and that is a very famous dish in Jordanian cuisine. Jordanians stuff a certain vegetable. So I'd like to ask the audience, what vegetable am I thinking of right now when I say stuffed something right here? Really, some restaurants make Mongolian food here. That's interesting. Okay, I'll have to try
know
it.
about it.
I'll give it a test. So I'll ask Salwa, so the word stuffed, and then with a vegetable, what vegetable am I thinking of, Salwa?
Well, I can think of several vegetables we stuff them. Kusa, okay, we got that.
Right.
Eggplants.
Eggplant. Now, if I'm correct, Salwa, that's is that makdous? Is that right? Did I say that right?
Yes, it can be makdous, and it can be a cooked eggplant stuffed with rice and meat.
Okay.
So you have two things for stuffed eggplant.
Okay.
Either the makdous or the one that's cooked with rice and meat.
Okay.
Which is you prefer?
All of them, yeah.
Okay,
So yeah, we'd use the adjective here, stuffed. So I'll just write a couple more, and we're going to wrap it up for today. So the last couple words, we have mashed beans. What are mashed beans, Salwa? What is that?
فاصوليا مطحونة أو بقوليات مطحونة.
Yeah. Or even like fool, if you eat fool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And roasted chicken. Chicken we eat from an oven. Yeah, we stick it in the oven and then it roasts. So how about we do this very quickly because we want to wrap things up. I'd like Salwa to maybe read kind of an entire paragraph about how we put all of this together. And this is going to stay on the U.S. Embassy Facebook page, so you can listen to Salwa again and again and again. And you can use your own words to talk about Jordanian cuisine. Give me 1 minute, Salwa.
Okay.
Let me erase this. And let me write some words really big for the folks out there that Salwa is going to say. These are in the text.
Oh yes, we stuff whole sheep for sure.
Yeah, whole sheep.
Okay.
Okay, maybe I'll stop there. And again, Salwa's going to read it, and at the end, if you have any quick questions, we'll take your quick questions. Go for it, Salwa.
Okay, let's start. Jordanian cuisine is incredibly diverse and delicious. The staples of Jordanian cuisine are bread, rice, and chickpeas. It's heavy on lamb and chicken with a great deal of dips and veggies. The most popular comfort foods are mansaf and magloube. Common ingredients are special spice mixture called za'atar, mincemeat, and roasted wheat. Stuffed eggplants and mashed beans are also common foods. Finally, if you ever eat a meal in a Jordanian home, expect to finish everything off with a cup of strong Turkish coffee.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Salwa.
Thank you.
So again, if you didn't get everything from Salwa there, you can just watch the replay on our Facebook page. So now we'll take any questions about, yeah, please save this.